For Israel, it is now happening in the number 7 house, Pisces sign. And number 7 house is the rest of the world. As you can see, a lot of people are getting very disenchanted with Israel. And also open enemies. And it is a very difficult time for Israel. They will get even worse if Trump lets them down. It is truly die or live for Iranians. There is a lot of depth in this war that might erupt if nobody is listening to anyone.
Trump's war, epic fury or epic fail? In today's episode, we are going to talk about the Strait of Hormuz, and we're also going to discuss the 3 planets that are currently transiting the sign of Pisces: Mars, Saturn, and a debilitated Mercury. So, in last week's episode, you said a lot of the planets were going to move from the sign of Aquarius into the sign of Pisces, which would mean that the war would move from the air into the water, which is exactly what happened.
That's correct, yeah.
So how does this all unfold now?
Okay, so let's go to the beginning now. In the sign of Aquarius, we had Rahu, Mars, and a retrograde Mercury. And that's when the war began. And that's when we also had Angarak Yoga being activated. And Angarak Yoga literally means fire from the skies, okay? So you're right when you say that it's moved from an air sign, which is Aquarius, into the Pisces sign, which is a deep ocean. And that's exactly what happened astrologically. And today, that's exactly what is unfolding in the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? So, Saturn had been transiting that sign since last year. Now we have Saturn, Mars, and a debilitated Mercury in the Nakshatra of Uttarabhadrapada.
Okay, so you mentioned Nakshatras last week, but before we get into that Nakshatra, can you just describe how these planets are behaving in this transit? So, debilitated Mercury, for example, what does that symbolise? Saturn, Mars, and all conjunct?
Very good question, because it is a water sign. Saturn likes structure, discipline, and borders, and it can't find any. So, Saturn is very uncomfortable in the sign of Pisces. So, it is looking for that. And if it doesn't find it, it is lost at sea. And also, it's delaying matters. It's not going to quickly finish everything and that's it, that's the end of the war. It's not going to do that, okay? Now, Saturn doesn't move for quite a while. It's going to be here this whole year and also next year, okay? So, that's Saturn. Mars. Mars is in a big hurry. It's a fire sign. So, it's in a big hurry saying, come on, let's get on with the war and let's quickly do what we have to, all the damage we want to do. But it can't. It's in a water sign. So Mars is not as feisty and fiery as it can be in that sign. So it is frustrated and Saturn is frustrating it, okay? So today we have contained aggression and it is very managed aggression as well because people don't know what to do. Because I feel Israel is waiting for Iran to do something silly and Iran is waiting for them to do something silly so that this whole thing can blow up again.
Yeah.
So it is very controlled aggression, okay? Now we come to Mercury, fallen Mercury. Now you know Mercury is a communicator.
Yeah.
And Mercury is going to behave like the 2 planets that he's sitting next to. And the fact that it is fallen, it is all miscommunications, not telling the truth, a lot of lies. So when they say that the war is going to end today because I've got this signed sort of, we're going to sign this ceasefire and everything is going to be hunky-dory. It's not, because all this misinformation is also a lot of lies. While Mercury is sitting in the sign of Pisces, nothing is going to happen. Even if they sign on that dotted paper, it will never be successful because we need to get that Mercury out of there.
Yeah, and I think that's so true because just as we've been filming this, it's been announced that the ceasefire has been extended. So maybe that's Saturn playing its part and slowing things down.
It's slowing things down, yeah.
And then also with the miscommunication, that's Trump every day tweeting just to save the economy, which he has bulldozed. So that can be explained by that.
Well, that's all to do with the markets, by the way, because he doesn't want the markets to go down, and he wants the oil prices to go down as well. So, he's really worried about what's happening to the economy and everything. So he's being very optimistic about it, but he knows it's not that optimistic. There are so many things that Iran is not going to let go. This is not going anywhere yet.
And also, I think the miscommunication between the countries. Because we've heard the stories that diplomats are afraid to go to Islamabad, and there's just a lot of mistrust right now.
That's right. I mean, you can see all the Gulf states are not even there because Iran doesn't trust them. They were all involved with this war. Iran found out who their friends are and who are not. If they give in, then Trump will declare, we won the war, and nothing will have been signed or anything. In 6 months' time, the war will break up again. So this will be an ongoing thread like we have in Lebanon, we have in Gaza, in the West Bank. So, it is going to be the same as there, and Iran doesn't want it. Iran, again, I'm going to repeat, are very spiritual, religious, proud, creative, intelligent people. They can read people, and they have been there for yonks. For forever they've been there, and they are the biggest country in the region, and they think they're going to blow it up and nothing is going to happen. Their inner beliefs still remain with them.
Mm-hmm. If they do start bombing Iran, it will not only affect Iran, it will affect all of the Middle Eastern countries around them who rely on them for their supplies. Mm-hmm. It will affect the entire world with the oil and the gas.
Yes.
So it's
not doing very well, is it?
No.
So I think instead of a recession, we are heading towards a depression. And when depressions hit societies, that's when the Third World War is going to break out.
Okay, so let's discuss nakshatras. Mm-hmm. What nakshatra are these planets currently transiting in?
That's my favorite subject because the whole of the Vedic astrology is based on the lunar mentions. Lunar is to do with the moon moves very fast, and then there are 27 nakshatras in the skies. There is a number 28, but we don't use it very much. But the 27 nakshatras which we use in Vedic astrology forms the whole of the zodiac, and they mean a lot to us as Vedic astrologers. So right now we are in the Nakshatra of Uttarabhadrapada, and that is ruled by Saturn, would you believe it? So Saturn is not in any hurry right now. And not only that, this is such a beautiful nakshatra. It's got depth, it's karmic, and we must understand the symbolism as well. This nakshatra is the back feet of a funeral cot. Would you believe it?
That sounds very depressing.
You see, what happened is, all these planets were in Purva Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada is the front of the funeral cot. And then now they're in Uttarabhadrapada, that is the back feet of the funeral cot. Now, when we realize we're talking about the funeral cot, we are going very deep into this science now, right? And there's so much depth, and with the deep waters that we are discussing, and Saturn is ruling this Uttarabhadrapada, so you must understand a lot of people can die, ships can be blown up, lots of things can happen. Now, I know we are discussing the war right now, but besides the war, in the world, if you look at, I think I just recently heard that there might have been a tsunami, but it didn't happen in Japan.
Yeah.
But these floods can happen, and a lot of people can lose their lives. Okay, so this water doesn't just impact the war, but we are discussing the war today, so we'll take it for the Strait of Hormuz. This is such a deep nakshatra that there is a lot of validation in what these planets are doing there. As I said, Iran is going nowhere. It's actually going to take all the suffering it can get. This nakshatra carries a lot of karmic weight. And I spoke about the karmic war, remember? Mm-hmm. Now, when you go back into Iran's history, you will understand it is all about their ideology and so many more things. I don't want to repeat myself, but there is so much more going on in there. So this is now about releasing your ego and calming down. Now, do you think Trump is doing any of that?
No.
No, he's not. So this nakshatra is going to teach us a lot of lessons. So it is truly die or live for Iranians. If they don't get what they want, it doesn't have to be every single point on that paper. I think majority of things, so nobody can come back and fight them again, or they can kill their rulers. I mean, do you know how many died? I mean, I think there were over 35 people who died in the higher ranks, when the war broke out. So this is a very difficult time for everybody, because guess who's got the patience? Iran has got the patience. And the symbolism of this nakshatra is a serpent, which is lying at the bottom of the ocean. Now, you know what a serpent does? It coils up, it's sinking, and then it's going to attack at the end of it, okay? So right now, under the water, a lot of secret things are going on. There is a lot of depth in this war that might erupt if nobody's listening to anyone, okay? So I am concerned. I am really concerned. And when we say that because it's a Pisces sign and it is the 12th sign of the zodiac, we say, okay, it must come to an end. In life, everything does come to an end, and then it starts again. But this war, the way I am looking at it as an astrologer, is going to be in, out, is going to be an ongoing war. It's not coming to an end anytime soon.
I mean, one of Iran's points was that Israel had to leave Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And Israel has broken the ceasefire in Lebanon over 2,000 times since January 2026. Mm-hmm. So I don't see that ever coming to an end, not soon anyway.
You must understand these are frustrations which are now boiling over. People can't take it anymore. And I thought, okay, the war started, they bombed and they bombed and they bombed and they bombed. Has it stopped?
No. It has been going on for decades.
Yeah.
No innocent civilian should die.
No. Doesn't matter which side they are on.
No, it doesn't matter. An innocent civilian dying means your government is failing you.
Yeah.
And that is happening in Israel, it is happening in Iran, it is happening everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
And Donald Trump, he's failing his citizens because so many people are going to lose their lives in this war.
And they're soldiers, aren't they?
Of course.
So you know what people don't understand is that Trump, I know he's a warmonger, he loses his cool because I've spoken about him before. It's just pomp show and drama, He wants to do a quick thing like he did in Venezuela, and he wanted to finish it. And I'm sure somebody persuaded him. I don't know who. I mean, I can only look at one person, and that's Netanyahu. That comes to my mind. Persuaded him. You know something? They are weak. People are going to rise. Let's go and do this war, and it's going to be finished in 48 hours. Did it finish in 48 hours? Now, you see, they're not astrologers, are they? I mean, if I was looking at it and I look at the patterns of wars and things, I mean, I knew where this was going. It was not going to end quickly. I knew where it was going. I look at all the charts of the countries. I look at the leaders, and I am not saying that I'm predicting anything. I'm not predicting anything. I am telling you the patterns that I see. And so far, they have been accurate. So let's bring it down to one-to-one level and forget the war for a minute, okay? So if I had a client who came to me and I could see there was a bad patch coming up astrologically in the chart, I would guide that person. I would say, look, there's an Angara cure. Can you not lose your cool? Say, especially if they're having a marriage problems. Mm-hmm. So I would be saying to that person, can you just keep quiet? Can you just maybe go away for a time being and keep away from your partner if you're rowing right now? Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to go really bad. Now, if that person walks away and doesn't care or doesn't listen, because I am only guiding, remember that, then yes, it will happen. But if you take my advice, because I am guiding you, and you say to yourself, maybe there is something in this, and you walk away from the situation, it does turn and change for the person. Mm-hmm. It does. Now, all these leaders, I don't know who is consulting who, but, it is very difficult for them.
How does all of this reflect long historical tensions in the Middle East?
Well, as you know, this is not an isolated conflict, and it's been going on since Israel has been in the area, and it is all to do with Iran's nuclear program, nobody wants Iran to have nuclear weapons. But then Iran says that Israel's got nuclear weapons, okay? Without getting too political, there are a lot of things like, we also have the security of Israel in the area. We also have US regional military presence in the area. And of course, there are proxies of Iran. And for that reason, Lebanon is alight, Gaza is alight, West Bank is alight, and now Iran. But you can't fight Iran. You can fight those little places that we are going around, but you cannot fight Iran because Iran has been there the longest and it is the largest country in the whole area.
Well, I personally don't think Israel should be fighting anyone. Last year alone, they started 6 wars. So it's too much.
You say that, but then they will say that they've been bombed as well, which is true.
No, I do. Look, I understand.
All tit for tat
I understand, but the leaders need to sit down and have a conversation because this isn't good for Israeli civilians.
Yeah.
It's not good for Palestinian civilians. It's not good for Iranian civilians, Lebanese civilians. I mean, the entire Middle East is about to erupt, and that is going to have big repercussions for the rest of the world.
It is. And something, astrologically, this is beginning of the Third World War, as I said to you before in the other podcast. You must understand this is how Third World War is going to begin in the Middle East, and then we've already got Russia and Ukraine at each other's throat, and then China is going to do something with Taiwan. All these wars are going to erupt, and then one country is siding with that country and that country is siding with this country, and this is how the Third World War is going to begin. So you rightly say, why can't they sit at the table? But we have so much ego, don't we? Mm-hmm. We have so much ego and nobody wants to do that. Everybody's better than the other person, and I don't think many people trust Iran, and Iran doesn't trust Israelis. So that's the end of the subject. So what do? You go into wars and then what? Carry on and on. But I believe at the end of this war, there will be a new world order. Understand that. Because Iran is not going to take any more nonsense now. And so they're going to say, if Israel's got the nukes, we're going to have the nukes.
Yeah.
If Israel is not the member of so-and-so, then we're not going to be a member of so-and-so.
So really, why doesn't Israel just admit they've got nuclear weapons?
Well, they're never going to do that.
How are these transiting planets affecting Israel at the moment?
For Israel, it is now happening in their number 7 house, Pisces sign. And number 7 house is the rest of the world. As you can see, a lot of people are getting very disenchanted with Israel. And also open enemies. And it is a very difficult time for Israel. They will get even worse when, for whatever reason, if Trump lets them down. That would be quite cutting for them.
Do you foresee that in Trump's term?
I can't see that because I believe that Trump wants to leave a legacy. He wants that enriched uranium out of Iran. And something? Trump is a very vain guy. He just wants the glory. He just wants to say, what the other presidents couldn't do, I did it. And because of his ego, which I discuss a lot in Vedic astrology, and he's very egotistical, he's a Leo rising, and with Maga Nakshatra. Maga Nakshatra, it either makes it too egotistical or very spiritual. But he's going the wrong way. And if you go the wrong way, then that ego will come down. So that's why you shouldn't take too many chances. Just because he's got that power of all these machinery and everything doesn't mean he's going to win the war. Okay? So when you started the whole show and said fury or fail, it is actually going towards a fail.
Trump, to me, is like, in Game of Thrones, the Mad King who got his dragons to destroy everyone and put fire to the civilians. I feel like that is Trump. Would that be an accurate insight when looking at his chart?
Trump wants what Trump wants. And if he doesn't get it, he's like a little child, okay? So he's got too much ego, he's a narcissist, and, it all shows in his chart. It's absolutely in his chart. But he's also very sensitive. So, all these people discussing him and everything, he doesn't like it. If you notice him in his speeches and things, he's not very clear, is he? He's talking about the war and then he talks about the ballroom, and sometimes he goes off the tangent. So Trump is not doing very well. So in the homeland, with Trump being the leader, lots of things are going on in USA.
Wow. Well, this makes for a very depressing period ahead. How is this impacting Netanyahu?
The transit is impacting him in a difficult house. That is his karma brought forward house, number 5. Okay, that's the Pisces sign. And for him, he's still sitting there strategizing. He's not giving up. And this is a very karmic house of his, okay? I think he was born to come and create this mayhem, the way I'm looking at it astrologically.
So what about Iran? How is this affecting the Iranians?
For Iranians, in their chart, it is the number 9 house. It's all about diplomacy. It is about their ideology and things like that. And it is impacting them as well. But it's a slow burn.
So do these planets suggest an escalation in the war or a stalemate?
I think it is passive-aggressive energy right now. And I think the slightest of mistake can actually become very active from the water. All right. So I think it's a very fragile time in the countries. I don't think that there is going to be any ceasefire. And even when the ceasefire does come, as I said, it's going to break up. So it's a very difficult time in the Middle East, quite clearly.
So how long are these planets going to transit sign of Pisces? And are there going to be any turning points coming up in the war?
They're going to be in the sign of Pisces only until the middle of May. But as I always say, when I look at charts, astrological charts, that there's always a trigger. And that trigger doesn't mean when the planets are flowing well, that everything is going to be fine. Because remember, Rahu is still stuck in the sign of Aquarius until the end of the year. And then we've got Saturn, which is going to be in the sign of Pisces until next year. And then there are more transits which are not looking great, which I will discuss in other podcasts. But it is a difficult one. This is not going anywhere.
Well, it just sounds like a difficult time for
I know.
the entire world.
It is.
Well, I guess that's it on today's podcast. If you enjoyed that, please do follow and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening. Namaste.
Namaste.